Hello everyone. Uh, just a little video, first time I've ever done a video like this, I think, which is a reflection on and a little bit of guidance, I think, regarding the Bible and our use of the Bible. So I'm very aware that there are just so many different interpretations, aren't there, and so many different Bible resources around, and that's really fantastic, but it's also a bit mind-boggling. And I'm really just find it really lovely that for all this last year or so we've been gathering together for morning prayers and we're reading the Bible together, and it's been really fruitful and really kind of encouraging to do that. There's been a great deal more engagement with the Bible, I think, I've observed in a lot of people's lives. Maybe it's an enforced thing because of restrictions, but it's no bad thing to dig deeper into the Bible. But there's a challenge also that as we do that to make sure that we are discerning and we're watching out for what we're taking in and the interpretations that are that we're taking in as we read different different forms of biblical translation, different versions. So I'm just kind of recording something really about that, and what I look for in my basic go-to Bibles are they faithful to Greek and Hebrew? Now, I'm not a great scholar on Greek and Hebrew, but so I have to do a bit of research on that. And what's pretty clear is that NIV, NRSV, those kind of versions, they're seen as pretty faithful to the original languages of the Bible, and they're also they've been they're translations that have been worked on by groups of biblical scholars, and they've been revised, and there's been processes of revision that have been very, very rigorous, and so they're attested as translations that you can trust. And so for my personal use and my preparation for sermons and all that, my extra study that I do, I tend to use the NRSV and the NIV as my go-to basic Bible translations. I start with them, and I think we all need foundational places like that we go to, and then over and above that I will go to different translations and see how different people have worked with it, and then you get the versions like the Eugene Peterson's The Message, the Passion Translation, those kinds of versions that that give an interesting spin on things, that give a little bit more language. In the Passion Translation, it's quite feelings type language. In the Message, it's quite colloquial. It's quite it's quite American actually. A lot of the language, and that gives something else. But I'd say I wouldn't necessarily want to encourage those to be anybody's go-to Bible. That shouldn't be the first one you read. I don't think, in my opinion, I think they augment, they add a little bit, but the danger of adding a little bit is you can add to Scripture what isn't in Scripture. So we've got to be very careful around all that. I find the other versions like those as helpful to work out some puzzling stuff at times, and to give me a different spin on it, but I always check through, is that actually the right way of putting it? And I would tend to compare and contrast it with your mainstream versions, and then sometimes I would Google the Greek or the Hebrew to see whether and you can get the interlinear type kind of things on by Googling, and you can find out a bit more. So just my encouragement to you is just simply be discerning. I want us to be able to work with the Bible in ways that mean that we grow in our understanding of who God is and what He's about in our lives and in this world, and there's some brilliant resources for us to use, but let's be discerning and thoughtful about how we handle the Bible.